Right, hello, another tech video. So I've not done one for a while, and it's going to be the first one I've done on tyres. So the first tyre review. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with my channel, because this might appeal to more people than my normal subscribers, I am a self-employed or freelance same-day courier. So a lot of people, when they hear that, will think, all right, you know, DPD, Hermes, Yodel, that kind of thing. But no, I don't do parcels. I do more like light haulage, things like pallets mostly. Most of the load is palletized, so I do. And I do kind of quite longish distance, so more light haulage, more like a truck would do. And in particular, me, I prefer to do longer jobs as well because I earn more money that way. So I think more like trucks, but in a van. So I do a lot of motorway, a lot of A and B roads. I don't do, like I say, multi-drop. I'm not doing stop-start kind of round town driving with, you know, lots of turning around tight corners and 3-point turns and you know, always accelerating, just decelerating, which would be a sort of very different kind of use. So this is a tyre review. Obviously, it's quite important to take into account the way the tyres are used on my van. So this tyre review is on the tyres that came fitted to the van. I bought the van new in January, 12 months ago, or shade over 12 months ago now. January 2021, I bought it new from the Nissan dealer, and these were the tyres fitted to it. So it was fitted with Bridgestone Duravis R660 or R660 Ecos. So yeah, obviously a van specific tyre, like commercial. And I'll put the size, well, the size on my van as standard is 225/65/R16, and then the 112/110T. So I'm actually a qualified mechanic, even though I'm not really a time served mechanic. Once I finished my college course, I actually went on to uni and did a degree in automotive engineering. So I can't call myself a proper mechanic, but you know, I know the basics of tyres. When I looked into it, there's actually more to it. You know, the tyre sizes and stuff. Like, I didn't really, to be quite honest with you, understand what all them numbers mean, but I've looked into it. Thought I'd quickly share it with you. There's plenty of good things on. Just Google van or tyre markings UK or something, and it'll come up. But just to briefly go through it, the basics, which most people know and I knew, was 225, which is the first part, which is the tyre width in millimeters. So that's the tread area. If you measured across it with a tape measure, that's what you'd get. So mine's 225 millimeters wide. And then the /65, so 65 is the aspect ratio. So that is 65% of 225 is the height of the tyre. So the sidewall, basically. So the higher that number, the higher the aspect ratio. So if you had the same width tyre, say you had a 225/50, and then you had a 225/60, the 60 would be a taller tyre. So the same width, just taller, because it's a higher aspect ratio. And it's /R16. So I'm quite honest with you, I always thought R just standard for rim, you know, like the rim size. But apparently not. The R stands for radial, which most tyres are. That's to do with the like the steel casing, or like, yeah, the casing of the tyre, the way it's constructed. So there's like radials, which most vehicles are these days, tubeless radials. You also get things like cross plies, which really old cars have, and I think certain cars need, like Porsches need them on the back out on the rear, just a rear engine, or the always used to. Don't know if that's still the case. So yeah, that's kind of like specialist stuff. The R stands for radial, and then 16 is the obvious one. That's the size of the rim in inches. So there's a bit of a mixed bag there, isn't it? 225 millimeters wide. Obviously the ratio is second one's a ratio, and then 16. They did try years ago to try and turn tyres to metric, but a few manufacturers tried it, but it didn't work, because obviously it's just like wheels have been in inches, so it's hard to change. So wheels are still in inches, that's that one. And then the 112/110, to be honest with you, I had no idea what these meant, so I looked into it. On a car tyre, currently in my car, if I looked at the tyres and it just had one number and then a letter. But in a van, so mine is 112/110. Looked into this. This is the load rating of a tyre. So, and the reason there's two for a van tyre or light commercial tyre, the 112 relates to how much weight it can carry if it's basically just two tyres per axle, so one on each side of the axle. So that 112, so in my van, it means, because it's just one tyre on each corner, it means each tyre can carry 1,120, so that 112 kind of relates to 1,120 kilograms. So the tyres on my van, can hold, 4.5 tons. Obviously the van's limited to 3.5 tons, and then there's actual weights on that as well. Got to make sure, even though if your max load needs to be not over the max gross weight of the vehicle, you've got to make sure your axle loads aren't over as well. But that's another video entirely, so I'll gloss over that one. And then the 110, the second one, so this is the bit you don't have on a car but is on a light commercial van tyre, is the load rating if it's a dual tyre axle, or something they call it. So think of the rear axles that you see sometimes on transits and things like that. I've got two tyres each end of the axle, so there's 4 tyres in total. So in that scenario, each tyre is actually rated slightly less, so it's 110, which actually works out to 1,060 kilograms. So it's slightly less for some reason, but then you've obviously got 4 tyres, so that axle could take, if I did have that kind of axle on the back of my van, which I don't, that back axle could take over 4 tons. So I think that's why you see them on builders' vans, flatbeds, drop sides, that kind of thing. The back axle can take loads of weight. Taking aggregate and stuff like that, heavy builders materials. And then the T, which I did know, is the speed rating. So on mine it's a T. So I've looked it up in the index thing. That means my tyres are rated to 118 miles per hour. I'm never going to get anywhere near that in my van. I've never actually gone flat out on the motorway. Don't know what it'd get to, but yeah, probably 90 something, I'd have thought. If that, might struggle to get to 90. So that's what mine are rated to. So that's, brief bit about tyre sizes. So moving on to the actual review of my tyre, what do I think of them? I was quite impressed with them, to be honest, but obviously I had nothing to compare them against on this current van. But I was quite impressed with these Bridgestones. They never understeered. They did possibly seem a bit wallowy going into corners and stuff, relative to what I've put on it to replace them, because I changed them to something different, which I'll come on to. And I got 48,000 miles out of it, and they were sort of, the treadwear indicators at 1.6 mil, which is like the minimum. I probably ran them down to about 2.5, and I thought I could keep them longer, but I wanted to change them before winter, so I had a nice deep tread going into winter, and it's colder and generally more rain and stuff, so I wanted good tread on the front, or all around really, just that extra peace of mind and stuff going into the crappy winter weather and driving conditions. So yeah, on the whole, pretty impressed with them. 48,000 miles on the front. I'll show you some photos now of what they were like when they got changed. Yeah, so on the front you can see quite even wear, which is obviously what you was looking for. So yeah, pretty happy with them on the front, on the mileage I got out of them. Like I say, nothing's comparable against yet, properly. On the rear, so I'm actually on about 59,000 now. and the rears are going to need changing pretty soon. So on the rear, I've noticed, which other people have noticed as well, it's kind of quite common, especially on like heavier vehicles. The near side, the passenger side, has worn on the rear a fair bit quicker than the right side, the driver's side. The reason being for this is go around roundabouts. So when you go around the corner, it's always the outside tyre that's got all the weight on it of the van, because obviously the vehicle leans over. So it's putting all the weight on the outside tyre and kind of scrubs the tyre more. Obviously I do a lot of motorway stuff, so coming off at junctions, A roads, roundabouts are everywhere at the moment. Well, at the moment, these days, you know, and doing that kind of driving. So the way I sort of drive, doing the light haulage, longer jobs, probably do more like roundabouts and stuff. And if I was like using the van for parcel delivery, multi-drop, it'd probably be more like 50-50 then, turn right or left from it. But yeah, so on the rear, like I say, it's worn more on the passenger side than the driver's side. And I've also noticed on the rear, the tyres are wearing more on the outside than the inside, the middle of the tyre, which generally means your tyre pressures are too low. If you're getting too much wear on the outside of the tyre relative to the inside, try putting a few more PSI in until you get an even wear. And the other way it works the other way around, if you've got too much air in your tyres, then you'll get the sort of middle of the tyre kind of like bows out of the tread area, so you'll kind of wear in the middle bit of the tyre more than the outside. But the thing is, with my rear tyres, the van spec is for 4.8 bar in the rear. Can't remember how many PSI that is. But these tyres, it says on the sidewall max pressure 4.75 bar. I'll be running them at 4.8 bar. Ideally, if it didn't say that on the sidewall, I would have tried putting a bit more air in them just to get, you know, even tyre wear. So that's a bit disappointing, you know, a van tyre, you know, and you can't put really the manufacturer's specified pressure in the rear, and it doesn't have the flexibility to go slightly higher. You know, I don't run overloaded or anything. Max I'll run is 3.5 ton. I know the van weight's pretty well now, been on plenty of weight bridges. Yeah, so that's kind of a bit disappointing on the rear and the max pressure thing. But overall, I was pretty impressed with them, and I would have fitted the same again. So I did actually, you know, when it was time to replace the fronts, look, right, I'm happy to get the same again. Started looking for them, and I found they're really hard to get hold of for some reason. I don't know if they're changing it, running them out or something. They're going to bring out a new model or whatever, just don't know. But I could find plenty of the same tyre, but with a different speed rating. So instead of the T speed rating that's fitted to my van, there seems to be loads around with the R speed rating, which T is 118 miles per hour, so I'm never going to get close to. R is 106 miles per hour, which is still probably not going to get there, but it came fitted with T's, so I didn't check like the manual for the van to find out what it actually needs. Maybe it came out of the factory with higher speed rating than it needed for some reason, availability or whatever. I could have maybe checked that and found out R's were fine. But when I looked at the R's, that the same tyre but with the R speed rate instead of the T's, so everything else is the same. There's also something else to do with tyres, another kind of rating which is different to the ones I went through earlier, which is more of a come in recent years or last decade or so, which is to do with fuel efficiency and wet weather grip, and also how noisy the tyre is. So the tyres that I'm reviewing, the ones that came to my van, were AA rated, so A being the best, and then I think it's C, you know, D or E is probably the worst, I think, for each of these things, or the first two, and then the sound is rated in decibels. So mine was AA rated, so A rated, best it can be for fuel efficiency, and also A rated for wet weather grip. Whereas the R's, they weren't. I can't remember what they were, but they weren't AA, they were something else. They were like inferior. So I didn't even bother looking into whether I could fit R's for that reason, I remember now. And then I couldn't, like I say, I couldn't get hold of tees anywhere, or very few and far between. You know, like most of the major, you know, quick fit and stuff didn't seem to be able to get them, or didn't offer them on their website and stuff. So in the end, I looked for a comparable tyre, exact same spec, size obviously, speed rating, load rating, same AA rated, very few options, because obviously, you know, it's top end tyre, top performance wise, fuel efficiency and wet verve grip. So I've replaced it with another Bridgestone, a premium tyre, top end tyre. I've replaced them with the Continental top end ones, which, like I say, same spec, and get good reviews, and could get hold of them easy enough. And it got from Quick Fit, and it had a deal on it at that time, like 10% off if you buy 2 or more or something. So they worked out quite reasonable for a high-end tyre. Very happy with these tyres I've got on the van now. Continentals, only been on 10,000. I've not even got the tread wear depth gauge on them to check how they're wearing, but I would say relative to the Bridgestones, they seem a bit more solid. There's less sort of wallowing, so when you turn into a corner, they seem to, you know, less kind of give in a side to side. I would say seem a bit of a stiffer construction tyre, which I prefer. And also, I'm going to do a proper review when they're worn out, well, at least, yeah, the fronts are worn out. On the back, I can put more pressure in, but I've still got the Bridgestones on the back. But if I wanted to, if I put the Continentals on the back, I could run slightly more than 4.8, which is the what Nissan recommend for the van, just to kind of get that even wear. Because I think it's because the tyres allow for it, like that max pressure is higher than what it is on the Bridgestones. So yeah, happy with the Contis so far, and it's kind of shown up a few ways that's better, them two things, less wallowy side to side sort of movement, and they can run higher pressure, so they're better than the Bridgestones, I would say. So overall, happy with the Bridgestones. I would have fitted them again, but like I say, couldn't really get hold of them, so I went with something else. Got a good deal on them because of a discount at the time. It was worth shopping around, discounts and stuff. So yeah, I don't think I'll be fitting Bridgestones again. Or this particular type, I'll probably stick with the Contis with what I've got so far. Like I say, I'll do another review on them when they're worn out and give the proper model name and info and stuff. But that is the tyres review, first tyre review done. So interested to know here, it'd be really good, I think, as in all my videos, any comments, well, please like and subscribe obviously first, but any comments on, please put them below so I can read them. I'll try and reply. I always reply, sometimes take me a little while, admittedly, but it's good other people can see it. So I'd like to know, what tyres do you rate, be it premium like I've got in my van, mid-range, budget. What have you tried? What do you rate? What van have you got? What's the use? Is it used for, like me, light haulage, or is it more multi-drop, in and around town, lots of stopping? How long do they last? Do you think they're good value for money, good grip, things like that? What can you recommend? And similarly, what have you tried that's absolute crap and best avoided, in your opinion? Again, try and set the context in your use, the van, that kind of thing. For me, I'm going to stick with premium tyres. I think they're worth the money, because just because something's cheap doesn't mean it's good value. So I'd never go budget on tyres. This car I've just bought, which I'm sat in now, it's got a full set of budget tyres on it. So when I come to replace it, they'll probably be getting Michelin Pilot Sports. It's just worth the money for me, because especially on a work vehicle, they tend to last longer, better grip, safer. Yeah, but sometimes I think mid-ranges you can get most of the benefits for a decent saving. But I worked out it cost me, for the front tyres, it cost me 0.5 pence a mile to replace the front tyres. So obviously the front axle wears quicker than the back because you've got the weight of the engine and it's the steering axle, and you've got the power going through the tyres and most of the braking as well. So yeah, that's front axle cost me about ½ a mile a tyre, I worked out, and the rear is slightly less. So if I round it up to tyre wear, it's costing me 1p a mile. Obviously, if I have a puncture and it needs replacing because of that, that's something else. But purely in terms of wear, it's about 1p a mile to factor into my running costs. So that's it. Yeah, like I say, please like and subscribe. Comments below what you run, what van you've got, what kind of use you use the van for, and any other general comments, as ever, please put them below, and cheers for watching.